Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. This is your host, David McCaig Jr. The game is powered by 91 Network and featured on Spaces, which is through Village Media and Soo Today. 91N is a YouTube channel where the Game Sports Podcast video editions are on, as well as other podcasts as well. And for Spaces, well, you can check out any space, and it's not just located within Sault Ste. Marie. It's also expanding throughout Ontario, so just check that out through Soo Today or Village Media. Now, you can also check out the game on social media. That is everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you find us. You, well, can interact. And also audio versions of the game are, well, where you may be tuning in if it's not on 91N, through Spotify, Apple, Google, or Amazon Podcast, wherever you are. Like, follow, subscribe, 5 stars, all the fun things definitely help us out as we enjoy our content here on the Game Sports Podcast. And there's no bias to that. We've been around for 10 years. January will be 10 years of the Game Sports Podcast. And I want to just emphasize, I know this is a very challenging week for the Game Sports Podcast, and the last couple of years we've been doing tribute shows to our friend and partner of myself on the Game Sports Podcast, one of my best friends, Scott Nason, who suddenly passed. And I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to Scott, and we didn't do an exact new show to him dedicated this year as we've done in past years, but I wanted to make sure that I recognize how much I miss Scott and how much we miss Scott here on the Game Sports Podcast. And, well, I wouldn't be here without him on this podcast. He's the one who gave me an opportunity when he started Coffee with the Coach and brought me on while we were recording live on Eagle 95.1 after I was doing color commentary for the Soo Blue Devils, gave me a chance to come and talk sports. And ever since then, I have been here being able to talk sports with you. And for many loyal followers and listeners for over 10 years, I could not say thank you enough. And obviously the messages a few days back on the anniversary of Scott's passing, I want to say thank you for that. I know people that are followers and listeners of the show. We didn't do a new show, as I mentioned. I'm going to be sticking to a tribute mention here on this show. Next year, we may do something a little bit different, but I want everyone to know that mental health is a very important subject. Make sure that you reach out to resources in need if you are required and needed to do so. And also, don't be shy to be kind. Kindness definitely goes a long way. I like to throw that in when it comes into the mental health aspect, because you never know of the challenges that somebody else may be going through. And we miss Scott every day, and I think about him every day, and every time I do the show, I feel him with us here on the game, and we miss him dearly. And as well as a lot of you listeners likely do as well, for many of our loyal followers, especially in the Soo Michigan region, we appreciate the continued following and that you've had your faith in me, as for these past few years, I have taken a different approach to the show, and we're very excited for the next steps. And I wish Scott was here to be a part of this as well, all the growth we plan to do and continue to do. But 10 years, we wouldn't be here without Scott. Scott, we miss you very much. Now, here on the opener of the show, I was going to kind of just vent about going into hockey first, but I'm not going to do that. I've called a quick audible. We're actually going to have this opener with myself here as we await Connor Henderson to come on to discuss the world of baseball, as the wildcard playoffs have already been underway. We're already a couple games in, but we're going to discuss some baseball. We have Jordan Trudeau with Chuck-a-Puck, and we have In the Pocket. So we don't have Top Shelf this week, but we will have Chuck-a-Puck, and that's where I'm going to talk about Kirill Kaprizov. I'm going to save that vent for then. So I kept the introduction for our friend Scott Nason as we just passed the anniversary of his passing, and definitely, again, we miss you, Scott, every day. But I want to remind you the agenda is Strike Zone, Chuck-a-Puck, In the Pocket. Next week, we'll have a fully loaded, likely 4-segment show because we are in baseball playoffs. And as I say that, he comes in at the perfect time. This guy's time management is impeccable, unlike mine. Okay, it's good at work, not on podcast time, I will say, all right? But nonetheless, we are working on the time here, and we have time segments here on the game. And without further ado, I want to introduce the myth, the legend, the stud, the engaged, getting married very soon, one and only Rookie of the Year, if you know, you know, Connor Henderson. Connor, my friend, How are you? Welcome to
Dave.
another segment of Strike Zone.
Dave, I'm doing good. Thank you for bringing me on. I can't wait to talk playoff baseball. I'm struggling to maintain my composure as I've, survived through the first two Tigers games here in the wild card 3-round playoff series. So hopefully we can get into all the fun details today on the show.
Let me ask you this then, right off the hop. Why the bleep are the Tigers in a wild card spot? Why are we here talking about this? Do we blame injuries? You know what? And this is a great thing to dedicate to Scott. Scott was a big Lions and Tigers fan. I know if he was here, he would be pumped about the Lions. He'd also be pumped. I would be pumped about this Tigers team still, but I can just imagine how much he'd be fuming right now after the lead that they just blew this season. I sat here a month and a half ago, I think maybe with you saying, the Tigers got it. They're good. They don't. They didn't. It went the other way, Connor. Went the other way. What happened? Why are we here? Why are we talking wild card with the Tigers and not having a bye with the Blue Jays?
The universe is correcting itself after last year's insane run by the Tigers, the historic Cinderella push at the end of the season, where they had almost no chance of making the playoffs and surged to get in. This year it was the complete opposite. They completely crumbled and fumbled and bumbled their way to having to fight their way through the first round of the playoffs, and they got no bye. When we were on the show just about a month ago, you and I discussed how the Jays needed to fight and claw and scratch the entire season to fend off both the Red Sox and the Yankees, whereas the Tigers had such a cushy, comfortable lead.
We did talk about this.
We talked about this exact thing. And I believe we discussed that, you can get complacent when you're up, resting on your laurels. Sure, the Tigers had a couple injuries, sure. But like every team does. Look at the Jays. Bo has had some troubles and he's a core piece of their lineup. Every team is
some arms. We talked about that. Would you rather be that's, you know what? That's a little plug for a recent episode. Go check that out back in the summer when we were on our vacation. Look how smart we are even on vacation talking about things like that. You mentioned, would you rather be the Jays in the situation they were in or the Tigers? And I know maybe people thought it was biased. I went Jays direction because you're playing playoff ball right from the start, where the Tigers got to go. And then it was a little bit too relaxing. And then while you're sitting back in your chair, your lazy boy broke. And then you got kind of complacent. I don't know why I went with that analogy. It just kind of flowed off my tongue like that. But the Tigers are in a wild card spot right now. And look, it wouldn't be proper to do predictions for the wild card, because by the time the show's up, the predictions might be right or wrong. Heck, we might bat 1,000, pun intended, in terms of who we think is going to win what. Day 2 of the wild card right now is still underway. Today you had the Padres win and you had the Guardians win, so now tying those up at one apiece. And then you have the Dodgers, who are playing tonight against the Reds, which I fully anticipate a sweep. Not going to lie. That's one that I'm pretty confident might not change tomorrow, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Dave, then tomorrow, the payroll gap between those two teams is a country mile.
Hundreds of millions. Hundreds. I think it's a couple hundred, isn't it? I could be wrong. I think it's a couple hundred.
Yeah, it would be in like the 9 figures of difference between them.
And there's somebody named Shohei Ohtani on that team as well, and Sasaki and Yamamoto and Glasnow and Snell and Mookie Betts and Freeman. The list goes on. And Ellie De La Cruz is the name that I'm coming up with the Reds. They got Austin Hayes. They got Steer. Right? Like I have to keep really thinking for a minute on who they got. Sorry, everybody else. Navar Marte. Not, right? It's no. Sorry, Cincinnati. You got in on the last day, but you're going to lay out pretty quick. I'm sorry. I don't care if that's wrong. I hope I am. I hope when I upload this tomorrow, the Reds maybe smacked the Dodgers and I look dumb. I'll take that because I would love to see the Reds go on, but that's one thing that I can confidently say I don't think is going to happen. But we're sitting here, and I know a couple episodes ago, we were talking about finally we might see it. Jays and Tigers. ALCS. We might see it. So everyone knows who I'm pulling for, but I got this question, Connor, and I'm going to flip it to you. That's no Jays fan bias on any of this, and we're not biased on the show anyways. But if you're the Blue Jays, does it matter who you see in the next round? Does it truly matter? Or are you sitting there looking at the regular season going, we had more success against this one team than the other, right? And then I'll give my feedback once you answer that. If I'm the Jays, are you sitting there going, who cares? Or are you
Yeah,
sitting there going,
I've
give me
always
one or the
been
other?
of the school of thought that in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter who you play. What matters is how well you play. And unless there's a huge skill gap, which I don't think there is when we're talking Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox, I think all three teams are fairly close. You might say that Jays are a little scrappier maybe than the Yankees, but unless we're talking about like a significant gap in pitching or significant gap with the bats, I think it really just comes down to, do you get hot at the right time, and are you playing within your team's structure? If you play well, good things happen. So I don't
And
think it matters too much.
that's where I am. Like, I was looking last night, it was in the ninth inning, and this last night, right now it's October 1st, everyone. When I say last night, I'm talking about, let me correct myself. I'm referencing game one. The Yankees had bases loaded, no out. And that was the only team in history. I could be wrong. I thought I saw the stat that in the ninth inning, the bottom of the ninth inning in a playoff game, that did not score a run when they had three men on and no outs. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could be wrong on that. I thought I saw that stat somewhere. Could have been a wrong outlet. Chirp me if I'm wrong. But if that's true, that's not the point of my comment. When they made it, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, I was like, the Cuban Missile's starting to falter. But then you just saw the Cuban Missile be the Cuban Missile. Everyone knows who the Cuban Missile is. I'm not going to say the name. If you're listening to this segment, I hope you know what the Cuban Missile is. If not, it's worth a Google. There's a reason why he's called that. Held his composure, struck out Stanton. And then I was sitting down on the couch, Connor, and I was like, oh, crap. Okay, you got Goldschmidt. Oh, crap, you got Judge. Oh, crap, you got Grisham. Not in this order, but oh, crap, you got Stanton. Oh, God, you got Cody Bellinger. I'm sitting there at the Yankee lineup going, but then I see the Red Sox, and I'm like, that lineup looks a little bit more like beatable, right? But then you always forget small ball. It doesn't matter in those games you play. The Red Sox play the right way. They play that chippy way in baseball. Doesn't matter that you have these guys that hit 40, 30, 50 home runs a season. We know, and you should know as Jays fans, we just know as sports fans what I mean. Now, Crushmore, if you know, you know, from 2015, having guys like Donaldson, Encarnacion, Bautista hit a home run every time doesn't win you a championship. What it does is a bullpen. What does is defense. And what don't the Yankees have? Defense. What don't they have? Composure. Jazz Chisholm is complaining at umpires, deservingly so sometimes, pretty routinely as of late. And you know what? As a Jays fan, you shouldn't care who you play because it doesn't matter. Let me give you an example in a different sport. We want Florida. If you know, you know, okay? Be careful what you wish for. Let it happen and let this ride out. Let's enjoy it, because if the Jays do win this series, it doesn't matter. The next series will probably be just as hard. If it's Cleveland, Detroit, or Seattle, Seattle's arguably the hottest team in baseball right now. And Cal Raleigh is literally Barry Bonds. And yeah, I'm talking about steroided Bonds, even though Cal Raleigh isn't on steroids. I'm just saying the guy is literally a truck. That team is great. But I would love, think of it that way. The road to get there, I really like the team from the AL this year. The Dodgers have shown they're human, but the road to get there from the AL this year, I think, is a lot tougher than the NL. And I might not be a great opinion, Connor. So to go to that point in 1 second, but you have the Jays, it doesn't matter who you play, to shut up and play hard and play smart. And Vladimir Guerrero, wake up. Time to wake up and hit some bombs, okay? But Connor, when it comes to the road to the finals, I think you'll agree the AL, Is it harder? Like, I know Milwaukee fans and Philly fans might be like, excuse me, did you not forget? But I feel like the AL is a little bit more of that. All of them are closer, and a lot of it's tougher. It's just a tougher road.
Yeah, I think that the AL East in particular, having three teams that all are very, very deserving of a playoff spot with the Red Sox, Yankees, and Jays, I think any one of them, whoever advances, has a really, really great shot at winning a World Series. And I can't say the same for teams like Cleveland or the Detroit in the AL Central, and I can't say the same for some of the National League teams. Like you said, the Dodgers have shown that they are human this year. If we recall,
very human.
Season, we thought, look, they won the World Series last year, and this year, on paper, they looked better than they did the year before heading in. It just goes to show that you actually have to play the games, and you actually, this isn't a video game where, if you're rated highly, you stay rated highly, and you're going to do fine. It's it's not too. There's a lot of human chemistry going on involved. And as far as the small ball comments that you had referenced, I think that's what's awesome about playoff baseball is analytics will tell you, yeah, home runs are certainly more valuable than singles and all that good stuff. Hitting for power, all else being equal, is better than hitting for contact.
Yeah.
And yet,
very good point.
And yet we see the bunts come out in playoffs, right? And nobody bunts in the regular season because everybody's looking for that paycheck and that payday, and bunts don't pay. But they certainly help in a pinch. You get teams that will have like 3 bunts the entire season as a team, and then suddenly there's a man on third base in the playoffs, and they're setting one down. And I love seeing that. That it really spices up the game. All hands on deck from the bullpens as well. Playoff baseball is just a sprint. It's great.
It's so good. You know what I see in this Blue Jay team, I don't like comparing it, but it does play that Cleveland type style, and we know why. Look at that imprint on there. And Tigers Skubal in game 1 was like, I can't. So let me ask you this then. This is my spin-off. I don't want to go too far off playoff baseball because I do want to make a World Series prediction. Maybe not. I don't know yet. I don't know because I think I know who you're going to pick, and we don't know if they're going to go on, but perhaps maybe we'll hold that for the next round. You know what? We'll hold that for the next round prediction. Okay. To be honest, I think the Jays are going to lose in the World Series this year. So that we'll leave that. You know what? That's a good tease for next week. Connor, what happens if they lose Game 3 tomorrow?
Yeah, they still
Is
have
he done?
him. They still have him.
Trade him though. Are they trading him or are they keeping the guy?
They'll keep him. I think unless they're cratering the trade deadline next year, which was entirely possible. They'll hold on to him at least until the deadline, and then
next year,
if they need to pull bait, they will. Diabolical pitching performance by Skubal in the first game of the playoffs. 7 1/3, 14 Ks. The guy's a madman. And honestly, it's one of those things where you almost wish that we were living in like the 1930s or 40s because
pitch again tomorrow.
Skubal would be getting right back on the mound tomorrow.
Is there a chance you see him tomorrow at all? Do you think there's no chance?
I think there is 0%. Though I would have him in the bullpen. I'd say screw it. Get your ass in there. You're going into the bullpen, and if push comes to shove, if there's maybe a lefty coming up that we need to get out, heat up. They won't do it because, heaven forbid there's an injury and they would get, crucified.
Yeah,
but,
true.
If this was the World Series, I think Skubal himself would be saying, you better let me on that match.
Yeah, 100%. There wouldn't be... I would, if I'm the Tigers, and I don't want to talk about tomorrow too much, but because we'll let tomorrow play out without dissecting into it, but don't hesitate to put him in. It's do or die. Just don't have to start the guy. Just do or die. Middle innings, you got to get some critical outs in a close game. Who else do you have to look towards to do that? So definitely going to be some interesting games tomorrow. Some games may not happen tomorrow, pending as we're talking right now. The Red Sox and Yankees are currently locked up. So we don't know what's going to be the schedule tomorrow, what's going to be the schedule into next week. But I do know this, when Connor and I talk next week, we will be in the mix of the ALDS and the NL and all that, the divisional series is. So Connor and I might have to do a clip or something this weekend to predict the quick 3-minute clip for listener enjoyment, who we think is going to go on. But nonetheless, lots of implications between now and tomorrow night that we will see shape out the rest of the playoff action. So now what I'll say, Connor, is that we talked about Skubal briefly, and Skubal being that piece that we don't know, but there's another name out there that we've talked about recently on the show who is dating a TikTok celebrity person and who is an LSU, I believe, gymnast. So you can tell it. Don't follow. Yep. Okay. I'm right. That's great. See, I guess I am fit, or whatever the young generation says nowadays. But nonetheless, Paul Skenes, I have never felt more bad for a pitcher almost in my life. I know the guy makes bank. Okay. He has a good life set up, but he's on the Pirates and the guy had a below 2 ERA, and he is on a disaster of an organization that I thought was on the right slope up, and they're not. They don't look like they're going to change anytime soon, Connor. But does Paul Skenes get traded from Pittsburgh this offseason?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think that as much as it pains everybody to see what he's dealing with over there, and I think even rumors coming out of the clubhouse are that obviously the players are quite frustrated. They actually had a good, I think a fairly good team pitching staff this year, all things considered. They just can't score runs, and they're not very talented or deep. Skenes is the only thing that organization has going for them, and I feel like if they lose him, then I fold the team, I guess. Like, they won't let him go, and he seems like a fairly loyal guy who will play good soldier. So, yeah, I couldn't see them moving him simply because, they've only had him for 2 years, and he was former first overall pick. This is the type of person that you want to build a team around. It just so happens that he got very successful very quickly. He was a college pitcher coming out of LSU. He was by no means young, but you hold on to him for dear life. Oh, is that true?
Well, that is true, and that's why it's perfect timing. I was making sure the lad was coming on. It's all. I'm glad he's got the Jays jersey on.
I gotta wear this today because it'll be our recording before it starts for the Jays. So I'm rocking 100%. Jays today.
50%, and you're catching at the right time, Trues. We're just about to wrap up Strike Zone. I know you two know each other quite well, and it's good to have you guys together on here because we were teammates together in baseball. And I've told Connor that you gave me a nice curveball this year down the pipe, and I absolutely hit the ball very nicely, and I appreciate that curveball down the middle.
Yeah, I was just trying to throw the ball over the plate that game, I remember. So
yeah, nice one, and rolled in the outfield a little bit. I think there was only 2 hits that game, and I had one of them. I didn't get a hit off Colton. You guys both know Colton. I think he's the best pitcher in the league. So I'm just saying, the guy's a stud. Nonetheless, I don't want to veer off too much. Connor, with next time we chat, you and I, maybe we could do a quick clip this weekend for the viewers just to say, hey, what's our predictions going to be for the rest of the MLB playoffs. But I want to wish you good luck as a Tigers fan tomorrow as they go into Game 3, a deciding game. And as a Blue Jays fan, I think all Blue Jays fans will agree that we'd love to see the Tigers move on. That'd be a great ALCS if it can be both those two teams. But nonetheless, Connor, I want to say thank you for another edition of Strike Zone, my friend. It's always fun to chat baseball with you, and we'll chat this weekend and next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave. See you soon. Trudes, Dave, have a good one.
Too. That is the man, the myth, the legend, Connor Henderson. The guy is time management bang on, okay? And I was worried Trudes wasn't going to come on and make it, okay? I thought you weren't going to make it, Trudes. But I'm just kidding. You are here. But I have something different with Chuck-a-Puck today. We didn't do a top shelf segment today. That's next week. But there's one thing I do want to kind of incorporate from professional hockey level before we dive into local. And I think you probably know where I'm going with this because I didn't get to react on it. Kirill Kaprizov. The 8 years, $136 million. I gotta yell. Cover yours. $17 million per season. Minnesota, Bill Guerin, you are dumb. I'm sorry. And now I might have ruined ever having Bill Guerin on the show. Maybe I don't care because I would just pepper him because I don't care what the cap is gonna be in the next 2 years, 3, 5. I don't give a bleep. I'm not gonna swear. I'm not gonna do it. I probably will later. But I'm gonna tell you right now, he is not better than Connor McDavid. He's not better than Austin Matthews. He's not better than Nathan McKinnon. Heck, he's not even better. I won't say Mitch Marner. I would prefer Mitch Marner over Kirill Kaprizov. I'm not going to lie to you. And look, I'm not Mitch Marner bias or fan. I liked Mitch Marner in Toronto, but I'm okay with him leaving. So there's no love for me there. Okay, no bias. I would rather Brady Tkachuk over Kirill Kaprizov. I'm not kidding you. Is Kaprizov maybe a better hockey player? Maybe. But guess what? I'd rather Tkachuk because he plays the all-around game, and that's a guy I want to go to battle with. There is no way in the right stratosphere that man is worth $17 million no matter what the hell the cap is going to be. That scares me for a Connor McDavid contract, which, sorry to tell you people, if McDavid does leave Toronto, guess who's number 1 on his list? I'm sorry. It is what you think it is. It's probably going to stay in Edmonton. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think McDavid's leaving. But if he does, I'm sorry. It's going to be, it's going to be to this team right here. And I'm sorry to tell y'all, but that's going to be the team that he's going to go to if he's going to leave, okay? Or he's going to go somewhere to the States like San Jose if they're going to give him $21 million a year. Because now that I sit here, Nathan McKinnon is a gem. I want to win a cup. I'm going to take a discount. McDavid, listen, if you do somehow see this on the show, whatever team you sign with, man, you don't need to sign for that much money. You can sign for a reasonable amount build a team around you, and win a cup. Minnesota is FUC blank, blank, blank because of this contract. Did they not learn from Parise? Did they not learn from Suter? This is ridiculous, Trudes. He does not deserve $17 million. The guy is not that level of superstar. I would not give him more than, even with the cap going up, 11.5. I would maybe give him Shesterkin money is what I would be giving him. Think of this. I saw this meme. Would you rather have Kirill Kaprizov for $17 million? Okay. Or would you rather have Matthew Nyes, Anthony Stolars, and Nicholas Roy? Think about that. I would rather for under $17 million. There's another player in there, but I'm just telling you right now, stupid signing. I know we got to talk Chuck-a-Puck and local, but I want your reaction on this Kaprizov contract. I had to say it. I've been saving it for this segment. I think it is dumb. I don't like it. I think Minnesota just effed it themselves going forward.
Well, you're really fired up about this. I don't. It's funny. I don't really get fired up about NHL. But I do get fired up about OHL and MLB because like I'm about to be a nervous wreck on Saturday. Like I'm already watching the Boston New York series, and I'm like when the Yankees had 3 on and none out in the bottom of the 9th yesterday. Like I was like I'm not ready for this to be the Jays. So yeah, I can understand your frustration because I think for a lot of Canadian fans and a Canadian hockey perspective, it's what does that mean for Connor McDavid, whose contract ends in
this season,
the end of the year. So the Kaprizov signing, so that agent, good for him. I mean, I can't deny that. Good for Kaprizov, good for his agent. But I think the fear out of, okay, you've got a player of that caliber, which he's a good goal scorer, right? But you mentioned the likes of like Matthews, Draisaitl, McKinnon, McDavid, Marner, like Rantanen, like those guys, what are they going to get now? If Kaprizov is worth what is marketed worth is 17 million AAV, then
Jack Eichel and Panarin, Kyle Connor, and Kempe are contract ends at the end of this year. So, Jack Eichel, Panarin.
Now too, there's other big names. I think it's bad news for the Edmonton Oilers. That would be my take on it.
Yeah.
And in terms of McDavid, I know you mentioned him going to the Leafs, but Dave, I don't know how they would afford him, to be honest. But I don't know what contender is going to afford him, right? Like you mentioned, he'd have to go to San Jose if somebody wants to pay him a big amount. But does he want to? Does he want to go push himself back? Although he would probably push San Jose. He would probably push them ahead a couple of years, right? Like in their ending window. Like he would definitely speed them up. But I don't know. Like, what does that do for the rest of the market?
Here's what Connor McDavid's contract is going to start with. If you're on video, you get to see it. It's backwards. That's a 2. That is a 2. This means there's going to be a 0, a 1, a 2, $20 million contract. We might see a $19 or $20 million contract. And guys like Quinn Hughes in the future that are free agents, these guys are going to get raked in the cash. Cap's going up, but listen, NHL's had CBA problems before. Buyer beware. That's what I got to say. Buyer beware. Trudes, I dove into a little bit of that. Let's go to Chuck-a-Puck. Okay, or the true Chuck-a-Puck point. Let's talk about where you want to go with local.
The true Chuck-a-Puck, wearing a Jays
jersey.
The true
Chuck-a-Puck. Yeah.
So I actually was spot on with my prediction last week. I didn't mean to be spot on with my prediction, but I'm glad I was spot on with my prediction. 2-1, and they lost in Ottawa on Sunday. And that, I mean, they're right where you want to be. I mean, 3-2 doesn't look very flashy, but I think in terms of a young team, first road trip of the year, they got 4 out of 6 points. So kudos to them. And Landon Miller played outstanding on Thursday night in Peterborough. He had a 40-save shutout, so props to him in that game. I didn't watch any of the games. I caught 2 of them on the broadcast, Jerry Lipcomb Jr. And then Sunday, I was busy Sunday. I can't remember what I was doing. But unfortunately, I didn't catch any of the games, so I can't really comment on them too much, other than the line score and listening to articles and Jerry's broadcasts. But it sounds like a pretty decent weekend of hockey coming up. They're on the road again tomorrow night, Thursday, October 2nd in Barrie. Friday against, I was going to say Mississauga. It's Brampton Steelheads, and then Sunday in North Bay. And again, looking at those teams, I mean, Barrie took a run out of it last year. So, they might be a little on the lower end this year. Brampton, same thing. And poor Brampton got slammed this offseason. They lost Ivan Kovic. They lost Martone. The Valentini deal for Kitchener went through, and that hurts them because they don't get their conditional picks for trading him. So, deport Brampton in the offseason. And then Sunday in North Bay should be a tough one. That should be a tough matchup.
Yeah, tough to have that as the third game. Tough to have that as the third game on the weekend. You almost want to see that as game number 1 on the weekend, but travel doesn't work that way. This is logistically kind of doing its way. But I think, is it fair to say that for the Greyhounds, which here on Chuckle Puck we talk major junior, but also the extra love for the Soo Greyhounds from where we're located, is it fair to say that maybe we might see another 2-1 weekend, or would it be more realistic maybe a 2-0-1 weekend? Because to be honest with you, 2-0-1 is my prediction this weekend for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds after a long road trip, tough matchup Sunday after a long road trip, and it seems like that would be a good prediction for me. But what about you, Trudes?
Yeah, I would say that's a realistic weekend. I would say that's a realistic expectation. This team's, they did manage to come through on the power play this weekend, so that's looking up. And defensively, that seemed to be their problem on Sunday. So, how quickly can they make that adjustment? Can they tie those loose ends up? Will be the factor.
Yeah.
But I think for this team, I think you're gunning for a divisional championship. You're gunning for the West Division. Windsor Spitfires already at 5-0, so they're going to be a tough opponent, but you're spot on. A realistic expectation is a 2-1 weekend. I like 2-0-1, get an extra point, 5 out of 6 points. Anytime you could take an extra point, that's great. And we're in for another exciting weekend of Greyhound hockey.
We are, and this is what I got to promise to listeners. Now that we are going to start dying down with baseball eventually, not yet, it's coming, but next week I can assure you we will give Chuck a Puck more of a lengthier segment than right now. We have been only doing about 13 minutes. We will give Chuck a Puck 20 minutes next week because I would like Trudes and I to get into some of those hypothetical trade scenario stuff that we talked about the other week with some historic Greyhound and perhaps OHL discussion that we can certainly utilize for more clip action. But Trudes, any final thoughts from the Chuck-a-Puck perspective? Even though I used 5 minutes of it to talk about Kirill Kaprizov to get my hockey fix, any final thoughts from the Chuck-a-Puck segment or piece that you want to bring up from if it's local or other major junior hockey news?
Well, Thomas Vanderberg, you mentioned last week, he did score. He did pot one against the Greyhounds, and then he got a couple points as well. Brock Chitteroni, I think. Again, sorry, excuse me. I didn't look at the box score. He had a point, I know for sure. He may have scored as well. So local product Brock. So really solid performance by the Ottawa 67s on Sunday, and that pushed them to 3-0. With this Greyhounds team, it's going to be time. Time's going to tell where this team's going to go. It's still very early for this team. We're still waiting in the wings on Brady Martin. There's a lot of ways this season can go. And so we just have to, push through this weekend, see where we're at. And then we get a really big treat for their weekend back. Kitchener is here on the 10th. So that'll be a pretty exciting game. So yeah, things looking good from the OHL perspective. Let's see who can beat the Windsor Spitfires. They're undefeated. They play Niagara tomorrow night. So hopefully Niagara can hand them their first loss.
See, Brock Chitteroni, 4 points in 3 games this year so far with the Ottawa 67s. The guy's averaging point a game over right now. And projected, if you want some good projected stats, people like analytics, he is on pace for 90 points this year. But that is from eliteprospects.com. Almost doesn't really math in my head when I say that. But Elite Prospects projection says 45 goals and 45 assists for 90 points in 68 games. That's the projection from Elite Prospects. I'm going to give you something else. I'm going to say probably 68 games, 73 points. I'll say he's a point-a-game guy this year in his rookie year. I think that'd be great. If he can do that in his first year in the league and keep that going, that's going to show a monstrous steps moving forward for him. So I'll give him credit. I'll say he's a 70-point guy this year and potential favorite for Rookie of the Year in the Ontario Hockey League. Sault Ste. Marie love there for you. But elite prospects, let me tell you, whoever's mathing for you or predicting for you, let me help fix that for you. Or there's some AI technology. It's pretty. That doesn't seem to math for me there, Trudes. I think it doesn't math. The mathing's not there for me. I just, I'm just saying out loud. But that's good to see. And this, like you said, good, exciting weekend of hockey ahead. And the Hounds are still away this weekend. What a long road trip. But we talked about the importance of a long road trip being so critical to team bonding, and to do it so early in the season is so critical, I think. So that is terrific. Now, I'm going to keep you on for 1 sec, Trudes, okay? One sec. As we wrap up Chuck-a-Puck, we'll have, like I said, we'll promise a longer Chuck-a-Puck segment next week. We will give that more time. I'm going to welcome in Justin Hykel as we get ready for In the Pocket segment. But before we officially introduce In the Pocket, I'm going to say hi first to Justin Hykel. Hike, my friend, how are you?
Another day in paradise. Had the sleep lab last night, so I am obviously exhausted. You do not sleep when you're at the sleep lab. False advertising.
I love that. So, I don't love that for you. I'm so sorry.
I said to the girl this morning, I said the best, you should tell people the best day to come to the sleep lab is the night after you go to the sleep lab, because you would actually fall asleep.
Good. You should have took some melatonin, but I'm sure you weren't allowed to do that.
No, they don't. Yeah, nothing. No, nothing fun, nothing unfun, nothing. Honestly, kind of felt like prison. The people were really nice. I'm not slandering the place whatsoever. The experience wasn't the best.
Well, if you're going to a sleep lab, go the night after. So do 2 nights at the sleep lab.
Yeah,
I wanted you to be a non, because next week we're going to do a prediction on the Blue Jays playoff chances, and I did spoil where I did say I think we're going to see World Series baseball, but maybe not a World Series win. I know Jays fans are probably surprised to hear that I was going to say Toronto may not win, but I'm saving my prediction for next week. I wanted to bring in you, Hike, to ask you 2 things while Trudeau was here, because he was he was at the tail end of Strike Zone, but then he heard me vent about Kirill Kaprizov. Okay. So I want you to give 2 Blue Jay fans your prediction. I know you will cheer for the Jays too, but do the Blue Jays make and win the World Series? And number 2, 1 word to describe Kirill Kaprizov's contract. 1 word.
All right. Well, World Series would be cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think maybe we're setting the expectations a little high there.
Okay.
Whoever comes out of the Red Sox, Yankees, I think is still going to be a toughie. That's going to be a tough grind.
Yeah.
And then whoever comes out of the other division that isn't the Jays, because I definitely know them for sure, are usually substantially more loaded teams. I think the Jays are what do you want to say, a luxury tax team sort of thing. I think they spent a lot of money, but there's other teams that spent a lot of money on guys that are way better. So,
so you're not saying World Series. You're not saying World
Series. I would love to watch it. Don't get me wrong. Playoff baseball is the most entertaining baseball. That's if you would have told me, I would have brought my Jays hat to put on. Rotated hats through the thing.
Yeah.
But no, if they make the World Series, great. They're probably not winning it. But I'd like to see the Springer on the horse thing happen. So,
So the reason why I ask Hike this, listeners, is for 2 reasons. 1, I put him on the spot. 2, it's not as bad as when Butch Davis asked him about the Cleveland Cavaliers general manager, but it's not an unbiased opinion that you're getting on that side. So we're not biased on the show, but just to solidify no bias in Canada, there's our point.
So totally semi-related, but completely not related. Trying to make conversation in the lobby at the sleep lab last night, because there's other, suspects there that got to go through this meeting as well. And one guy was watching cricket on his phone. I'm trying to ask him, I want to, understand cricket. And then he started telling me about cricket, and I'm okay, I'm way in over my head here. Never mind. I'm sorry. I was just I wanted to know how hey, it's you're watching cricket sometimes, and it's it's 14 to 20 something, and then all of a sudden you turn away and you come back and it's 143 to 8. It's how does that happen? What happens in this game where the score just kaboom? But anyways, I'll segue myself into the Kaprizov thing. That's bananas, and Marner's probably planning a holdout now so that he can get another $6 million to protect his family or whatever he's got.
Your one word then is bananas?
Yeah, no, that's bonkers. I mean, I just compare it to the value that the Leafs got spending that exact same amount of money. I'm sure that's been a popular graphic that's been floating around.
That's what I did too. Look at that.
Honestly,
aren't we in the same?
Yeah, but what have we ever experienced the management that spends responsibly and not like me at Bulk Barn?
I mean, anytime, I don't care who you are, anytime, like the Leafs, for example, I guess I will give the Leafs props. You got 3 players for the value of 1. Like, not really, you don't even have to know what those players are, who those players are, or what their role is. Like, that's still, like, that's a lot. Like, 3-1 is a huge ratio. So like,
it is. If you want to throw Morgan Riley, Nyes, and Stolars, that's slightly above 17 million, but it's still very close. You can go on Roy, Nyes, and Stolars. You can go Michelli, Nyes, Stolars. You can just keep going down the list. Matthews, Michelli, and Domi are the same as that almost, because Domi's 3 and there's some change, and then Michelli is very low. So like these are just examples.
You got to put attractive names in there. You're not throwing
nice.
Yeah, we got Domi. Good, fantastic. What a genius you are. You know what I mean? Like,
Tavares,
I'm not shitting
this
on
was
the guy,
the
but
example.
Like, there's more attractive, flashy names to put in there.
These were the memes, actually, true. This is the one I saw. It's Nyes, Tavares, and Stolars are the same value for Kaprizov.
Yeah, I'm taking that. Okay.
There we go.
You have to. I mean, if you have Kaprizov, I understand you have to sign him. But like, it gets to a
not
point
for that
where,
much.
8. That's a lot.
Fuck that.
Maybe,
Sorry.
I don't know. We could like what was the trade option? You know, like what was available if you wanted to say put Kaprizov out there? What could you
get San
for
Jose?
That?
Give me a first round pick and give me.
What's San Jose gonna? What is San Jose gonna give you? They're not gonna give you anything good. Yeah, but they're not like
Kaprizov for that much. I'd rather take nothing, dude. That is franchise crippling. I'm sorry, I don't care about the cap going up. That is a dumb signing. But Trudes, I'll let you sign off. I always appreciate you. Next week, longer Chuck-a-Puck for sure, and we'll have more clips and Hound reaction and OHL reaction as we chat next week. And go Jays, my friend.
Let's go Jays. Let's hope
they
can pull you out.
Safe travels this weekend for Connor, right? No, not this weekend. It's later this month.
Yeah, later in the month. Yeah, later on in the month. Yeah,
I'm unfortunately unable to attend, toddler reasons. You know, people get it, but nonetheless, we'll talk soon, my friend, next week.
All right, take care, guys.
See you, man.
Love getting Trudes on that. Had him listen to that because I want him to hear your reaction. But I think final thoughts with that is absolute stupidity. Okay, that is what that is. We're still technically doing Chuck-a-Puck. It has an ingredient of top shelf in here. Just so you guys know, we're giving you a little bit of a treat with a little bit of reaction about this Kaprizov stuff.
I'm gonna knock you down off your high horse a little bit here though, and just taint the waters with absolute garbage right now just by putting it out there. If the player that everyone is currently talking about happens to not sign a contract with the team that he currently plays for,
we talked about this too.
You're not going to tell me that amount of money all of a sudden becomes that doesn't matter. It's 8, you know what I mean? To give him 20, who cares? You know,
I popped this up when I was talking to Trudes. This is the number that his contract starts with, and that's a 2 with a number sign. That means 20. There's a number in there because of this Kaprizov nonsense.
Yeah,
Justin, he's not worth it. He's not worth it. I know you might not like this. I'd rather Mitch Marner than Kaprizov. I'm serious.
I'd rather neither.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, removing my negativity towards Mitch Marner completely from this. I think the locker room, just as a person looking at the team, I think the locker room is better without him.
Love that. We'll cap that there. Kaprizov,
yeah,
Bill Guerin. Bill Guerin, just no. Dumb. Bananas, bonkers, stupid.
Bill Guerin looked pretty happy for be signing the contract that gets him fired.
Well, he better be happy. Yeah, no doubt. He made it sound like a little hasty there. I would have said walk. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. In the pocket, Justin, we'll go to that. It is in the pocket time. Thank you again to Trudes for Chuck-a-Puck. And, of course, I'd love the extra NHL chat on top of our Major Junior segment. So it's a little bit of a treat today with that because Top Shelf isn't here this week. So I have to make sure we mix some of that news in there when it's hot off the press. But Top shelf. We'll be back next week, as will Chuck a Puck, because right now it is In the Pocket. In the Pocket is partnered with Sportscenter Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar over 5 years in a row, best wings. Frank Ligoria and the crew over there, we appreciate you all the time. And obviously, Justin, I talked about at the beginning, I gave a shout out to Scott because this week is the anniversary of Scott's passing. In the last few years, we've done a tribute show, but this year we proceeded, as we talked about last week, to go on with the show and make sure that we know that we acknowledge Scott on this show every day. But nonetheless, we definitely are big advocates of mental health and the charities out there for mental health. So we definitely, we feel a little bit extra talking about In the Pocket because I know Scott loved In the Pocket. You got to meet Scott too. And obviously me working alongside him, just he loved our In the Pocket segment. And EJ isn't here this week again. We're still working to get him on, and Tyler. It would have been great to talk a little Scott with EJ because of the connection that we had and him yelling at the bar how many years ago and getting on the show because of that. The stories are just absolutely great. But you can check out our two Scott Nason tribute shows that we did the first year that it happened and the second year with Paul Van Wagner and EJ and Butch, and they're all still relevant stories that you can enjoy. So make sure if you haven't checked out our two tribute shows that you go ahead and do so. But it's a little bit extra special to talk In the Pocket today because of how big of a fan Scott was of our football and hockey talks here and the Sioux side of the game. And Justin, last week was week 4 of the National Football League, and it was a doozy of a week. The Monday Nighter actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and it was pretty knee-breaking, if you will. Yikes. And in the Broncos game, the Bengals are brutal. That's what I just want to say. The Bengals are trash. And we had a tie. We had a kiss. I'm not going to say it, actually. I'm just going to hold my comment back there. Not a great ending, but it was a great game still. I enjoyed the heck out of that Cowboys and Packers game, despite ending in a tie. Too bad it had to end in a tie. But we had some good football last week around the horn there, Justin. It was, without going into too much, I would give the week a good solid 7 out of 10, I think. It was a pretty good week.
Yeah, definitely improvement over week 3, that's for sure. Still... And I mean, there's a clip out there. I'm gonna reference it a little bit here, but like John Gruden, like last week, and I noticed that he's talking about how there's so many kicks getting blocked, and then I noticed again this week, kicks or punts. And to go with the amount of injuries that we're seeing. I mean, I've said this on the show previously. I'm kind of hijacking the segment a little bit here, but we've seen like a gruesome injury or two at least every week so far this season. Yeah. Like, we just finished week 4. There's people, and this is a bad way to preface it, but there's people's fantasy teams that are in absolute shambles because guys are just out. Whether it's ACL, it's an Achilles, it's a knee injury, a dislocated. Like, there's just been a lot of really chaotic injuries. And I've said it previously on the show where it seems nuts to me that every year they somehow reduce the amount of practice these guys are doing. Like, why aren't you... If you're playing on turf, why aren't you practicing on turf? Working out on turf. That's going to help all this stuff, adapt. And the guys that put in the extra time in the off season and are working out all the time are the guys that are standing out on the field. But then the other 70% of the league, we're getting these Achilles tears and stuff like that. And it's crazy to me. We've been doing the show a long time and we haven't really seen the volume of injuries we've seen up until the last 2 years. It's like, so I think
10 years we've been doing this. We haven't seen it. We're hitting 10 years in 2 months, man. And we haven't seen it like this.
A former NFL head coach, Super Bowl winning head coach, is telling us that there's not enough practice. The players aren't getting enough reps. This is why they're getting... where there's smoke, there's fire on that. I mean, I think it's something to watch going through the season here as we see if the injuries, kind of slow down, if they adapt, or if this just kind of goes out of control by January.
Yep, and we've seen Tyreek Hill. We've seen Xavier Worthy. We've seen
Neighbors this weekend.
Neighbors this weekend, right? There's people going down, and there's obviously a cause to it because athletes today are built different than what they used to. And I don't want to reference or age ourselves, but Hykel of my generation, even Justin and I have a little bit of an age gap, but we still like to factor in the 80s and 90s birth years where we were built in that rugged, tough, and if you're hurt, you get up. There were still injuries, but athletes nowadays are built different, stronger. Their bodies are more, feel more evolved. They're faster. Okay. But at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill is someone who plays the game very fast. Worthy plays the game very fast. Neighbors fast. I'm noticing a little bit of that speed factor and maybe the turf when it comes to pivoting, turning, running, slipping. That speed may be a factor. Maybe that's not, I haven't heard that be a point as discussed, but if you look at Tyreek Hill and Worthy run, the speed is different than a tight end would be like Travis Kelce. Okay, the speed is astronomically different.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really feel like speed is a factor when it comes to the receiver end, but we're not just seeing receivers. There's been other injuries too. But the ones that I'm highlighting right now are the receiver injuries. Like that's where I see is that speed of the game. And that's why I mentioned athletes being as special as they are now because they are faster. I do think they're more fit than we used to be, to be honest. I know our generations were pretty keen.
They are.
Our generations were pretty keen on working out, but I think the workouts are a lot smarter now and not as body grueling. But maybe they're just not built the same because of maybe not enough reps, maybe because of not enough practice, maybe because, right? So this is the NFL. I think they already have to look into it and maybe address it. But I think I'm really noticing the speed of the game being a reason and a speed of the player causing a lot of injuries outside of just the collision itself or the incident itself. It's a lot of these players that play the game fast and hard. And they're not small, not that it matters. It doesn't matter how big the name is, but these are some big names going down. Tyreek Hill, there was a guy that was a favorite on the trade wire, came with neighbor. There's someone who is an up-and-comer for the Giants, aside of Jackson Dart, who is just an absolute beauty, it seems like. But injuries are a problem right now, and I think the NFL has to look into it a little bit differently.
I mean, I guess just my closing point on this is just we don't see the volume of injuries in college, and I'd like to know what the ratio is like practice time in college versus practice time in the NFL. Time they're allowed because at college there's not a union saying what they can and can't do. I mean, I think there's something going on there now where, the players are protected, getting paid and stuff like that. But I still think the individual program has the say in what, if we're going to run laps until midnight, we're running laps until midnight kind of thing. Whereas the NFL, you got to show up from like 11 to 11:30 for a meeting and hit the gym if you want kind of thing. I mean, obviously it's not that, but that's kind of what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I hear the cat in the background. That's great. Cats are visitors on the show. I love it. So, Hike, I know we kind of invaded a little bit of time and fled over to here. We're going to dive into our week 5 kind of preview. I don't have high expectations this week again. I don't think it's going to be as I don't want to say sexy, but as sexy as last week. Nonetheless, there's still some good matchups to keep an eye out for. I think the Thursday nighter game is going to be still pretty good. I don't know why, just people hate on the Niners. The Rams and Niners are going to be, I think, a very good football game. The other game that I have my eye on, and this might be a little bit of a surprise, maybe not, but I think from an entertainment perspective, I'm liking the Commanders-Chargers game. That's another game that I think is going to be pretty exciting. Other games this week, I think it's going to be pretty easy for picks, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Bad news.
That is bad news. That's why it could go any way. But Justin, I'm going to give this week as the game to watch of the week. I am going to go with the Thursday nighter for my opinion. That's my big game of the week that I'm going to like. And the Kaka Poo Poo Bowl, the poo-poo bowl that we like to call it, I'm going to actually go with the Dolphins and Panthers. Sorry, I feel like that game is going to be one that I will not be watching, but might be exciting because it might be the poo-poo bowl. So those are my highlight game and poo-poo game to watch. Justin, what about you before our picks? What's the game to watch and what's the game that's the poo-poo bowl?
See, there's a couple good ones out there. Honestly, probably the 9:30 in the morning one's going to be the bummer. Minnesota-Cleveland. Cleveland starting a rookie quarterback who's not named Shadur, and Minnesota going back with Carson Wentz again. Hey, great game last week against the Steelers. That was a very entertaining morning game.
Loved it.
I think between the Minnesota defense and the Cleveland defense, it's not going to be a very high scoring game. You can probably still hit up the grocery store Sunday morning and go about your business, not miss much on that one. But honestly, one of the ones I'm looking forward to watching, and everyone, I'm going to sound crazy, but the Saints and the Giants. The Saints have been in every single game this season. They've lost every single game, but they've been in every game. They had Buffalo, by one. They were like one touchdown difference for 3 quarters last week.
Shocked.
That's a pretty big, and the Giants are just heating up right now. I mean, yes, they lost Neighbors, but Scatterbo was playing lights out. Jackson Dart's got some confidence right now. So I'm down to watch that. Hear that? Sid's screaming in the background. She doesn't like that.
she doesn't like it.
Not a big fan.
I see.
But you want to just we'll throw down into the picks here? Or?
Throw down into the picks. Let's do it. It tightened up this week. It tightened up a little bit.
I just saw that. It got pretty close. So, I mean, we got a 1-point spread amongst the fellas here. I'm still holding it down at first, 47 points. The David Decision coming up in second at 46. EJ the Broken Wheel coming up at 45. And then Tyler making ground at 39 right now. So it's tightening up through there. I got to stop being so risky with some of the picks there.
That's starting to catch up to you. And I'll jump into. I didn't do any crazy bets last week, but I'll jump into mine first. We'll do a different rotation. I realize I'd let you go these last 4 weeks. I'll jump in first, so nobody knows that I'm copying you on your picks or anything like that. Even though the picks that I state are different than Justin's somewhat, I'll go first to these ones. Maybe. I'm going to go with from the top, Rams over the 49ers, Vikings over the Browns, Colts over the Raiders. Second time I picked the Colts probably in 2 years. The Giants over the Saints, the Cowboys over the Jets, Eagles over the Broncos, the Dolphins over the Panthers in the you-know-what game. Ravens and Texans. I got the Ravens. For the Cardinals and Titans, the Cardinals very easily. Buccaneers and Seahawks might be where it gets a little bit crazy, pivotal. I'm going to go with the Seahawks over the Buccaneers this week. The Lions over the Bengals in decisive fashion. I'm going to go with the Chargers over the Commanders in a very good game. The Bills over the Patriots in, again, decisive fashion. And the Chiefs over the Jags. I got 34-18 Chiefs over the Jags. For the Bills, I got 32-7. Random, liked it. Who will score the most points this week? It is going to be Baltimore. Who's going to score the least this week is going to be Tennessee. Those are my picks. Hike.
All right. So, yeah, we're kind of the same, but not really on some. Taking the Rams in the Thursday nighter. San Fran's going with Mac Jones at quarterback again. A lot of the receivers are out. So it's the Mac Jones and McCaffrey show. Still going to be good to watch, but I think the Rams are a much more polished team. Minnesota over Cleveland Sunday morning. Colts over the Raiders, Giants over the Saints, Cowboys over the Jets, Philly over the Broncos, Dolphins over Carolina, Houston over Baltimore. Baltimore's in shambles right now. Lamar isn't playing. They don't have any receivers. Derrick Henry can't hold the ball. Their defense is old. Those are my reasons. Arizona over Tennessee, Tampa over Seattle, just because Baker in the fourth quarter is better than everybody. He's somehow Tom Brady. The Lions over Cincinnati, Chargers over Washington, Buffalo over New England, KC over Jacksonville, which I think is going to be a sneaky good game on Monday night. Jacksonville's, I believe, 3-1, and they can score in bunches, so should be fun to watch that one. I got KC 42, Jacksonville 36, New England 21, Buffalo 33. Most points this week, Cowboys. Fewest points this week, Cincinnati.
Well, Cincinnati's a very good pick for least points last week.
I don't think they can make it past half, let alone get points. So
this is gonna. I think we're gonna see a pretty stable week this week because I think a lot of picks are gonna be very close. But we might see some shifts in our standings. Stay tuned as it's getting very tight. This is the type of year where it's either a break where people could really break away in our standings, or it stays tight for the rest of the year. And usually it stays tight the entire time. But
yeah, well, it's tricky with the bye weeks now too, right? So there's a couple less games, so the margin of error is a little tightens up a little bit.
It tightens up. And the Steelers, obviously, on bye week this week, so I will be just casually enjoying. But I'm very excited to just watch the Blue Jays this weekend and only stress about one team instead of stressing about two, so about winning the games. So it's going to be a weekend of football, but I think in this house there's going to be an invasion of baseball when it comes to the Blue Jays being on, to be transparent. I think all of Canada will agree to that as well. Depending on who they play, it doesn't matter who they play. But
I mean, it's the first of the month now, so we can officially say we are in Sportstober.
Mm-hmm.
In the next 10 days, I mean, we've got NFL, we've got football. We've got NFL, we've got basketball coming back into the preseason. NBA just wrapped up, I believe. NHL is back. Baseball playoffs. You know, that's a pretty good couch. Get ready.
Couch, get ready, and chicken wings, get ready to come off the bone, because I am pumped for that. It's going to be a good weekend of sports. And next week is where pain begins again as well in the National Hockey League. How fun will that be, ladies and gentlemen? Well, next week, let me tell you, as I search here to confirm, the Leafs do play Wednesday October 8th. Wednesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. against Montreal in Toronto to start the season. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. But, Hike, this has been in the pocket. We're slightly over, but that's okay. We had to make sure that I gave my intro. I had to, of course, our tribute to partner, co-owner, founder, close friend of mine, close friend to us, Scott Nason. So this is my week where I get the forgiveness of being approximately 10 over, because it's for a good reason. But also, we had a lot of content to get to this week when we only fit in 3 segments. Imagine if we had Top Shelf in there, it would have been even tighter to get a lot more. But there was some Top Shelf teasing in there and Chuck a Puck when it came to someone named Kirill Kaprizov. Lucky you know what, getting that paycheck. But this has been in the pocket, which is partnered by Sportscenter Bar and Grill here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Hike, I want to say thank you to you, my friend, as always. We'll be in touch this weekend. It's going to be a beauty of a weekend in sports, but we'll be back next week, same time, same place, chatting what we love.
Yeah, I'll be here, same spot. I mean, I'm working on something to fill that spot right there.
I see that
out in the garage, so maybe that'll be present and available. You never know.
Love it.
And just watch the background, see if there's any new addition.
And if EJ and Tyler can't make it, I can say after having a conversation with someone named Dane, he will be jumping in to assist us on In the Pocket going forward this year. Dane Hancho, who has not been involved on this show for well over a year, has been looking to get back into it. And given our Top Shelf and Chuck a Puck kind of rotation, Dane is going to be jumping on in to assist here and there, but mainly through In the Pocket is where he's going to be. And guess what? He's been on the show before, because he actually is with the original OG, me, myself, Dustin Grondin. Wow, Jamie Antonello, Matt Primo, all these original names. Dane is also on that list, everybody. So you're going to hear Dane's voice come back on the game sometime very soon, likely on this segment. Now, Hike, again, thank you very much as always. Thank you to Connor Henderson, and thank you to Jordan Trudeau for Strike Zone, for Chuck a Puck with a little splash of Top Shelf in there, and for In the Pocket, to our sponsors. That is through Sportscenter Bar and Grill, our partner within the Pocket, but as well as our powered by through 91 Network and through Spaces, which is through Village Media and Soo Today. You can also follow us on all social media channels and audio platforms. Video editions available on 91N, but audio on all platforms. And we'll be back next week. And I want to make sure that I say again, Scott, we miss you. I love you. And we think of you every day on the show. And we do this for you. And we know that you are watching us while we do this show as we hit our 10th year. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Scott. Make sure that I definitely emphasize that. So Scott, we miss you. Now, make sure that if you are going through any kind of challenges, that you make sure you reach out to those, and also don't hesitate to reach out to your loved ones and friends to always check in. It's always appreciated. Now, nonetheless, I want to say thank you again. Make sure you hit like, follow, subscribe on everything of the Game Sports Podcast. Until next week, I'm here to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.